I got here late, so I don't know what Will talked about right away. But what I'm going to do is Will was talking about some record-keeping systems. You know, in our level... What's going on, Will?
I'm all right.
You're looking nervous on me. All right.
There we go. That's fine.
Okay. In our level 2 courses, you know, you guys are in level 1 right now. Level 2 is we go out and we work with everybody, farmers. I think I have 45 farmers, Will has 30 some, Roger has 45. Terry back there in our beard, we're giving him crap a little earlier. He's Mr. Dances with Wolves. He lives in Pier. Anyways, he's just starting. You got a couple? Something like that? Something like that? Anyway, so he just started in December and he's doing a good job for us. So you guys, anybody out there that's from Pier area, we also have Kathy Meland. Is it Meland or Mellon? Mellon, up in Wallace, up by Wallace, south of Webster. She handles the Aberdeen all the way to Mobridge. Technically, her and Terry are going to be trading some things off there. Plus, we have a guy called David Copel. He's out west. He's in Hot Springs. If anybody's heard of Copel Angus, he's from the Danny area. He was down there. He was actually on our program. He's moved up here. Was teaching at school, and then he moved out west to Hot Springs. So he's doing our program out west and has a few guys out there. So anybody out here seeing me, just keep us in mind and all that kind of stuff. One of the big things is part of the level 2 program. A lot of people say, well, we don't want to be taught how to keep records. I guess what I say to that is, I don't know if Will said this, but basically there's a difference between a farm record-keeping system and a farm accounting system. Okay? Yes, we know accountants. You can hire an accountant to do your records. That's fine. Matter of fact, some people I wouldn't mind if they did that. But the difference between a farm accounting system and a farm record-keeping system. Record-keeping, we're talking about cattle, number of head in, number of head out, death loss, butchering, the weights, the feed per pound of gain, days on feed, average daily gain, different things like that you can measure everything that your operation is doing for a cattle feeding operation. A cattle, just stock cow operation. You know, obviously, stock cows, we all want to know calving percentages. But how many people pay attention to weaning percentages or breeding percentages? Those things all are factors in that. Weaning weights, average weaning weights, days out, how efficient they're getting fed. Another one, AUMs. That's how we do calculators. So part of our program is to help everybody figure out that whole system and to conglomerate it all together. So you got your record-keeping system with cattle. You got your accounting system with financials. We want to conglomerate it all together to give you a good, sound net operating profit for your farm. Show of hands in here. How many of you think what you made on your farm is your tax return?
Never had a tax return.
Well, good. Anyways, a lot of people think, or they'll go around and tell, and especially young people. I shouldn't even say young people. There's a lot of people out there that think that what they made for their operation was what they claimed on their tax return. I can tell you this: you're probably 180 degrees opposite of it should be 180 degrees opposite of what your tax return says if you're doing your right planning, the right planning correctly. Part of our job is, I guess I always say I'm a management advisor to farmers. I know enough to be deadly on just about everything probably, but not an expert enough to give you a good expert opinion. I'm a good agronomist. I'm a good marketer. I know how to raise cows. I can grow feed, but when it comes to actually telling you if you should market your grain or not, I can give you a little advice, but it's a matter of coming up with a marketing plan for your farm. So our goal is to make the best farm managers, ranch managers that we possibly can out of you guys. That's our whole goal, and that's what this course is all about. Part of that, record keeping systems. Will talked about different record keeping systems. There's a number of record keeping systems out there. Okay, they go from easy to being very advanced in computer knowledge and accounting knowledge. So what our goal is to find the middle of the road. Plus, what I've also said before is you want to find something that's easy right away, and that, you know, as you get going, as you learn to make your decisions from looking at your record keeping systems, as you can make those decisions, you can say, oh, heck, I can do this in my program. So you're going to start doing this little bit in the program to get a little bit more detail in your program, so you don't have to keep it on a piece of paper or anything like that. Can your record keeping system keep track of it on cell phone apps? Or will it be able to keep track of it on cell phone apps? That's a big thing. There's some cattle record keeping systems just for weaning records and stuff that you can keep on cell phone apps. Who uses the little red NCBA book for calving records? Nobody? Holy cow, Will, we need to get some of them. We'll give you guys some. A lot of guys, a lot of ranchers out west will call it their Bible because they have them all the way back for as long as they've been ranching. And it's literally, there's a little small print in there, but they're about that big, carry them in your pocket. It basically has all your calving records in there. Well, now there's a program going on. They're trying to put that out as an app on your cell phone, which will be great. I will use it tremendously as long as it can download into my computer system. But just little things like that. Computer systems in general. I will tell you this. We don't necessarily recommend a computer system. I can give you the ones I like. I can give you the ones I can't stand. I can give you the ones that do a great job. I can give you the ones that do an in-depth job. And I can tell you the ones that you should just stay away from because they shouldn't even be an ag program. But I'm going to show you 3 of them right now. There's a lot of things out there that people will talk about that people will talk about. You'll hear a lot of colleges, a lot of banks will even tell you that use QuickBooks. Use QuickBooks. It does everything you ever need, right? Everybody hears QuickBooks. I will tell you this: the new version of QuickBooks does not have a Schedule F on it. I have just learned that in the last month. So if you're using QuickBooks and you upgrade it to the 2013 level, it does not have a Schedule F on it. The old QuickBooks do. The problem with QuickBooks, actually I'll give you the pros of QuickBooks. It's cheap. There, that's it. QuickBooks really isn't that cheap. 120 bucks, something like that. Quicken is cheaper. Kind of runs the exact same way. QuickBooks, same company, just a little different version. Great. If you're going to do anything at all, use Quicken or QuickBooks to keep track of your checkbook, so you can keep track of your expenses. Okay. Problem with that is that they give you way too wide a variety. They don't have necessarily ag categories. If you're going to use Quicken or QuickBooks, start off fresh, start with a blank slate, put in your categories as they are on the Schedule F or as they are on your banker's balance sheet or anything like that that he wants to know, as you want to know. You can get detailed or not detailed as you want as far as record keeping goes in checkbooks. Okay? A good example, details from a checkbook. You get a bill from your co-op. The co-op is an oil co-op, feed co-op, everything else co-op, agronomy center. You get one bill. Most co-ops are actually gone away from this now, where you get a couple of different bills. But some of the old systems, they still use one billing system. So you get one bill for oil, feed, chemicals, let's say. When you pay that co-op, part of your expenses should be, not just a payment to the local co-op. It should be a certain amount to farm fuel, a certain amount of it to feed, a certain amount of it to the chemicals. Also, you can get even a little bit more detail. You can split it out between, we always want, if it's just gasoline, you can split it out between your home gasoline and your farm gasoline, because you can write off so much of your home gas or farm gasoline as you should say. Most tax guys will let you write off about 80% of your gasoline. So if you just take 80% of what your fuel is, put the rest under home. That means at the end of the year, you don't have to keep track of what 20% of what you got is. It's right there. That's a good example of being detailed in that. The other thing with QuickBooks and Quicken is they do not, this is a con of it, they do not let you keep track of inventories. And I'm not talking, ounces of Roundup or pounds of fertilizer or pounds or tons of feed or anything like that. I'm talking about just the simple matter of, if you sell corn, you really should be saying, okay, this check was $30,000. I just sold 5,000 bushels of corn at $6. You should really be keeping track of that every time you put a deposit in. So then you can go back, and if, God forsake that you miss a check somewhere, or you want to go back in time, or you get audited by the insurance company, that you sold this 5,000 bushels of grain for this amount of price at this date. Okay? Quicken and QuickBooks does not let you do that. It gives you memos. You can put a memo in, but then you're going to be adding it up at the end if you have 8 or 9 checks. And that's no fun. That's not what a computer system is for. A computer system is to put your detail in right away so you can get the info out at the end. Okay? So those are some pros and cons, just one of each of Quicken and QuickBooks. I actually use Quicken for my personal checkbook for home. It's fast, it's easy, it's really quick, gets things done. A lot of people think Quicken and QuickBooks is great because they can go to their bank statement or their online statement and download their checks into their system, and they don't have to code anything, and that's so far from the truth. It's unbelievable, because I've tried it just to see how it goes, and you still got to go through everything and put it to the right categories, and you're spending just as much time doing it as you are just putting it in. So don't get hooked on this easiness from getting it from online, is what I'm trying to say. That's Quicken QuickBooks. I'm going to go through my head and try and think of some that I don't have on my computer. One big one, and I'm sure you're all going to know it, is FarmWorks. You guys all heard of FarmWorks at all? No? Nobody? That's a miracle. Good. Thank God. That means you didn't get hosed. Virtually, FarmWorks is a good program. It's a good agronomy program. It's a good detailed program as far as seed records, agronomy questions go per field. It is average at best for accounting system, meaning it doesn't get very detailed in an accounting system. Average at best. I've had one person I know of in my life that's ever used FarmWorks after they bought it. And that's the truth. Everybody buys it and they put it on the shelf because they open it up right away, and it's just so daunting of a task to set it up that they give up, and that's no fun. You really want to be able to put a program on your computer and start writing checks, basically, putting stuff in. That's really what our whole goal is. We don't want to take 8 days to set up a FarmWorks program to hopefully it's right, and then come to find out 10 months later that you did something wrong, set it up wrong, and wasn't tracking it like you wanted to, and all that good fun stuff. So you're going to hear a lot about FarmWorks here probably in the future. There's going to be big press releases. FarmWorks just got bought out by Trimble. So Trimble's starting to get into the lovely farm record keeping system, which, there is no perfect record keeping system out there, because I'd want a record keeping system that can keep track of your yield data out of your combine, keep track of zone mapping on your fields. I want a field that keeps track, or a program that keeps track of all my feeding percentages and stuff for my cattle lots by lot or by group. You know, there isn't no perfect program out there. There isn't one of these programs that I'll tell you about that does everything. You know, I know another program, John Deere is actually coming out with another farm management program. It's supposed to be hooked into GS2, which is great. It handles one side of those aspects. It does. I have not seen the accounting side of it, but I'm sure John Deere it'll come out and have a great field mapping side and field tracking side. But I would bet that it's going to be flimsy at best for accounting, and it doesn't do the rest of your fields or enterprises. So it's just an example. Don't get caught into those. Cost for FarmWorks, you're looking at $800 all the way up to $3,000 depending on the modules that you're doing. The lowest module $800 I shouldn't even say it's $800. I don't even know what it is anymore. It's for the accounting, flimsy at best accounting package. So there's another one called Ag Solutions, I do believe, out of Illinois. They charge by the month. It's more of on a cloud server type of thing. Works really good. I think they do have some cell phone apps. I just know it's an accounting. It takes a true accountant to run it, from what I've heard. I have not run it myself. It's pretty in depth for accounting. Plus, it's expensive. I want to say it's like $300 a month or something like that to be on that server. Another one. Used a long time ago, the very first program that I ever heard about was called AgCheck. 1986, Terra Western sold the computers in Madison. They had AgCheck. My dad got AgCheck. Wasn't a bad program. Over the years, it's progressed and progressed. Now, Red Wing Software up in Fargo or North Dakota has bought in it, and it's called CenterPoint now. It's a good program. I don't have anybody that uses it. It's not quite as intense of an accounting program, but it's not cheap either. So that's kind of the downfall of CenterPoint. Those are kind of the ones I know about. Now, I'm going to progress through some of these. And I'm going to show you the ones that the majority of our people use. This program is called FarmBiz. FarmBiz comes out of Kansas. Wally's a good guy. He talks to everybody. Does a fairly good job of explaining things, getting farm help. That's another thing. When you buy a record-keeping system or you're keeping up with a farm record-keeping system, make sure the service is good, because it's a nightmare if it isn't. Now, with these three around our office, one of us can handle most any question. We don't even have to call the people up in the offices, but most of us can handle those questions. FarmBiz, it's a good program. To be honest, I wish all the programs gave the simple reports like this one does. For me, I'm a little bit not old school. I like up-to-date stuff. Without getting into too much technical terms, it's a GUI screen over DOS. It just switched to GUI screens like 3 years ago. And it's in buckets. So when I say buckets, it's basically built on Microsoft Outlook, or not Outlook, Access, sorry. Matter of fact, I think if I put some time into it, I could have probably built it. So that's how easy it is. I'm going to show you, I better get out of there. Oh, and then you get a lot of errors on it too. I got to find my sample farm for you. Maybe. Okay. It's one problem with FarmBiz is Bill and I haven't figured out why there's so many errors with it. It does seem to run right, and then all of a sudden, boom, it doesn't run anymore, or something's wrong with it. although it does a good job of keeping track of things. Now, monthly transactions. It's not exactly like writing a check, but it kind of is. It has your date, check number, a vendor. That's probably your most commonly used businesses that you write checks to, or entities that you write checks to. This does go by item codes. There's a lot of item codes, and you have to pick them or you have to remember them. They're over here on the side too. Let's see here, what am I going to do? I'm going to pay the vet. $1,000. Now, it does enterprises. It has lots of different enterprises. If you can see, everybody see that? Very good. If you can see over here, it has lots of different enterprises. You can add some, subtract some, and change them around. Let's say this veterinary obviously wasn't for grain. It was for beef cattle. So I'm going to put it in there as beef cattle, and it'll go to that beef cattle enterprise as an expense. Okay. Click add new. There. Shows up on the list. Okay. That's basically the long and short of that. Has some good reports. It does track loans, I believe the correct way, where it gives you the rundown of the list, gives you all the money for your operating loan. That's usually the worst one to keep track of. Gives you all the money borrowed, gives you all the money paid back, it gives you your interest payment for every loan that you have out there, plus your beginning balance and your ending balance. That's all you need. Show your bank and you're done. Filling out your balance sheet, that's easy then. Just go through and fill it out. Cash flows, it does have Schedule F. It does do a profit loss statement for the program or for the business farm, and anything else. It's a very limited analysis program. So that's that program. Like I said, it's in buckets. When you get out of something, it goes right back to the main menu, so you got to go back in and change it and all that kind of stuff.
Chris,
Yeah?
before you leave the farm biz, could you
Yep.
show us a sales analysis of maybe one of the farms you have? Just cover the name up quick, but it'd be nice to show them that good report that makes.
How am I gonna
Quicken.
cover the name up quick?
You know, if you old fashioned had a piece of paper up there.
Yeah, but I can't do it up here. It's all right. Everybody, close their eyes.
You're all right. No,
I'll-
not FinPac. I'm talking about just farm biz.
For what kind of report?
Just like a sales report. You know how you were talking about how Quicken is
Oh, okay.
limited and.
Yes. Let's see here. Let me get back to
Your
it.
sample farm obviously's only got a.
Yeah. All right. I'll give you an old one, so you guys won't know who this is. I only want reports. Matter of fact, I don't even remember which one this is. So, okay, here's a money borrowed report. There, now you don't know who it is. This is what I'm talking about. This is like a beef line of credit. Shows he started out at 19,000, ended up 113,000. He borrowed 339,000, paid back on principal 245,000, and paid in interest 4,600 bucks.
What's the interest on that?
It's right here in this column. You see it?
Like an operating loan must just be
Yeah.
once.
The operating loan was paid once right up here. So, does a good job there. At the end it totals everything up. He's got a balance of $960,000 in loan and $52,000 in interest. So it's a cattle feeder for you. Oh, I don't want to print it, but anyways, that's that one. Cash flows. There, it's closing. Cash flows. These are all the categories. Chemicals sold. These are all the incomes. Chemicals sold. Amount of corn sold. Amount of beans sold. Payments. When it gets down to the bottom here, some expenditures. It categorizes feed expenditures, different things like that. They're going to look a little weird, but categorizes all the feed in different categories. That's the short version of the cash flow. Just to show you. He didn't make much money, 100,000.
But as you said, that's
Yep.
the tax part.
Yep.
Farm profit, and it's been very good.
Yep. Let me get
Sales
back.
one, I was one. Could you do the
Yep.
sales?
Yep.
Just wanted to show the guy how. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, this is all right.
In pounds.
It's all right. Oh, let's see here. This is livestock. Okay, right here. Can you guys see that? Can you see it?
Kind of.
Okay. This is the complete listing for the year, but he sold. Let's see here, where are we at? The Mitchell livestock, he sold 146,445 pounds, 185 head of cattle in this beef feeder livestock enterprise for 182,000 pounds or dollars. Goes on and on. Crops sold. He didn't have this in here. No wonder. But normally it would come out, all of these. His daughter actually does these, so she must have forgot. Supposed to put your bushels in, quantity of bushels. Oops. Quantity of bushels and the number sold. And the basically quantity of bushels here. So that's what that does. Expenses. He's probably not going to do the expenses like I want him to. Oh yeah. Oops. I hate these lovely mouse pads, by the way. All right, down here, he bought some cattle, 51,000 pounds. These are actually cows, replacement cows they bought. He bought 41 head. So that's where that goes.
What do you have to give for them? It just,
That's
I was
probably an old.
just curious.
I don't know. I can't remember.
I don't know if it says there or not.
A little over $1,000 a piece. At those are cows from last year. So, anyways, that's the kind of things that we can do. I'll keep going here. Make everything fast. Another one. PC Mars. Nobody's heard of PC Mars around here, I can guarantee you. It's a program that comes out of Iowa State. It actually does a good job of keeping track of everything. The way I say it, Farm Biz is about a 1995 version of a program. Looks like it's that technology type of thing. PC Mars is about a 2000 version of a program. The next one I'm going to show you is probably the most 2010 version. So, anyways, this thing, I should tell you, Farm Biz only keeps track of one checkbook. Okay? So if you have a checkbook and a savings account and a personal checkbook and all that kind of stuff, it has to keep track of 3 different files. Then at the end, if you really want to know how much you spend, you have to add them all together. So that's the worst part about Farm Biz, to be honest. PC Mars, basically same thing. The good thing about this is if you write a check, it's just like writing a check, basically. Total amount paid. It does have the codes in here, like Farm Biz. Okay. Good thing about this, it'll keep track of recurring bills. So if you got a cell phone bill, it's about the same every month. It'll keep track, and you don't have to put all of it in all the time. If your pickup payment is the same every month, put it in. All you got to do is go send a pickup payment, and it should keep track of it every month. The good thing about this program is you can have as many. It's all customizable for the accounts. It gives you some standard accounts, but it's totally customizable. You can set it up. I'm not going to go in and show you all that kind of stuff because I don't have time. But I just want to say customizable is very key. It can handle a lot of accounts. It handles credit card accounts, which is also a farm plan account. Meaning, instead of writing, say you got $10,000 charged to farm plan, and it's on farm plan it's 3 different companies, a seed company, John Deere, and some other parts company. Instead of writing one check, you can go in and charge all those accounts to farm plan, and then write a check for them at the end, and it's just a transfer. It all keeps track of it separately. The reports are very good. Not quite as simple as the Farm Biz reports, but you don't have to print a whole bunch of them to get the stuff you need either. So that's a good thing. Like I said, this is the next step up. This is a GUI screen. This is Windows layered Windows, so it's not batched, which is good. That means you can have a whole bunch of little screens up at once, and you can put them and organize them and different things like that. So you can do that. Basically, same thing. It does enterprises just like Farm Biz, just like the other Easy Farm that I'm going to show you. It does enterprises. It does all that good fun stuff. So we need. That's one. Like I'm trying to emphasize that keeping track of all the record keeping system, not just the financials, is very key to your farms, so you can make good business decisions, management decisions. I'm going to run to the next one.
What's roughly the cost of the...
Oh, okay. PC Mars. Help me out, Will. $750 for this plus version.
Yes, the plain is like $350 and correct, about double that for the...
Plain is just accounting, and the plus version is with enterprises.
Like payroll and, no, you can, I think in general you can, the plain version is adequate.
Will has guys using PC Mars more than I do, so he's the one that's the expert on that one. So,
support is very good too. That's, as Chris said, that's very important.
Yep. It's either call Iowa State or call Will. You take your pick.
Try to call Quicken people, and you might need an interpreter.
Yeah, they won't know. They'll say a cow. What? So, third one. Like I said, all these have pros and cons to them. Okay. Easy Farm Pro. Comes out of North Dakota. Actually comes out of Minot, so you get a lot of North Dakota stuff with it. A lot of terminologies from North Dakota, a lot of crops from North Dakota, a lot of different things. It is set up very good. It's totally customizable. You can start simple, and when you get this Pro, you get the Crop and Field Manager too. So you can set up different fields for different farms. So you'll have a history of all your crop planting, production, sales. You can actually put field maps on here. You can download field maps to it. It doesn't analyze them, but it just keeps a record of field maps for you. So you can go back and see what the history of that field is. Does a good job with fields. They actually do have a cow-calf module for it. Basically keeps track of your calving records. A little bit limited amount of lineage and EPDs and different things like that, but it does it. If you ever wanted to keep track of that, probably the downfall with it, it's very hard. We're actually working on them. It's very hard to do feedlots. We are working on them. They are very flexible with us to try and learn how to do feedlots. North Dakota, evidently, there's not enough feedlots for them to learn from, so we're helping them. The accounting version. Does anybody use Quicken or QuickBooks at all? Nobody? Okay. Probably the biggest thing is everybody wants to use Quicken. And when I was out looking for a program, I wanted to find the best program out there that looks like Quicken but isn't an ag program. Okay. This acts like Quicken, looks like Quicken. It's a .NET format, meaning it has all these screens over here. You can have multiple screens open. The chart of accounts is totally customizable. It does a very good job with chart of accounts. Some expenses, it categorizes things. These are, like I said, totally customizable. And when you're setting it up, he's very good at helping you. Yes, well?
How many different feeds could I put in there, for example?
Well,
Numbers.
9,999 if that's all you're going to buy.
No, it's like each block of those group accounts have about
Yeah.
50 accounts you could put in. That's one drawback on PC Mars. It only lets you put in. There's times I would like to add more accounts for my repairs and stuff.
Yes. All right.
Can we do multiple checking accounts in that one?
Yes. You can have as many checking accounts as you want. Just remember, the reason I said 9,999 accounts you could have for one item is because there's 4 letters or numbers here. If you wanted to have it all set up for feed, you could set them all up for feed. You could have 9,999 checking accounts if you wanted to. So that's the way it's set up. Okay. Like I said, it's totally customizable. There is a few things, but it does do a good job in your repairs and fuel and chemicals, crop expenses, livestock expenses. Where is that feed? There we go, livestock feed. So notice this as it starts at 5,100. This is at 5,150. So you could, from 1 to 50, from 5,100 to 5,149, if you wanted to stay in the same categories, you could have that many feed stuffs that you buy. So, and you could even have more than that if you really wanted to limit some of the other things. Crop expenses, seed, fertilizer, chemicals, different things like that. I'll just show you some incomes. These are chart of accounts. They really give you, first thing I do when I set this up is we go in and get rid of all the pinto beans and navy beans and canolas and some safflowers, just to limit it out a little bit. Basically follows, it does a great job of following what we do for our analysis. And I wanted to, after I'm done with this, I'm going to show you the FinPack analysis and what we do every year for these farmers using, how we use all these to put it all together. So that's that. Transactions. Just like writing a check, the good thing about this program is you get to see the actual ledger. If you didn't notice the other ones, you didn't get to see the ledger above you. You get to see the running ledger as you go, and you can edit them and different things like that. Click on them, edit them. This just happens to be to wheat growers, $500,000 to wheat growers. It's a big farmer, $300,000 worth of fertilizer is that one. And then $200,000 worth of seed. That's not quite proportional, but that's what I put in there. Notice on here, you can give, that's 1,000, I got 1,000 bags of seed. It goes to crop. You can put it in there. If it's 1,000 bags of corn, you can put it under your corn enterprise cost centers. This one you can cost center just about everything. If you have a tractor, you want a cost center to know how much fuel and oil and expenses you put into a tractor, you can cost center it. So it's pretty flexible. Like I said, it starts real simple, just accounting in general. You can go up to field tracking, and you could even add the module for your cattle records. To be honest, I tend to prefer everybody at least learn cattle records by hand first. It's doing it by hand helps you learn a little bit more. So that's these reports, let's see here. Save this. This does keep track of inventories, all inventories. It's like this is fuel. You go into there and add how much fuel you purchased into an asset account. So it will keep track of inventories really well. It also keeps, this actually does keep a fairly good birth rate record, cattle record, calving record. So that's the three anybody have any questions on the three programs besides Will? No. What's up, Will?
Is this got some capabilities with smartphone?
It does not yet. This is actually, I'm going to get a little techie on you. This right now is built in a pretty progressive database, but your smartphone stuff needs to be programmed in SQL or a SQL database. They are right now programming this into SQL, so you'll be able to have a bunch of these things on your smartphone. There's a lot of things you're going to be able to do in the future. Some things coming down the pike. We got you got online banking, obviously, where you can download your checks and deposits. But elevators are starting to update their programs where you can have online elevator stuff where you can go in and see your scale tickets and all that kind of stuff. The next step for that will be where you can download those scale tickets off the internet to your farm program and apply them to your fields or to your bends or anything like that. That will be the next step, and this one will be able to do that. It's actually pretty easy because it basically has it in there right now. You can put each scale ticket that you take to the elevator in this program and keep track of it by fields. So you have a good print off when everything comes. What's up, Will? You gonna pay me?
Cost. It's a cost of that.
Cost. Didn't I say? Oh, if you're on level 2 program with us, if you're a member of us, George, he's up in Minot, he gives us a great break. It's $395. Normally, if you're not on the program, it's $595. So he gives us a $200 break. And that's for this program. That's with the crop and feed manager. He actually does give a break for the cattle manager too. Not much. It's like a $200 program, so he gives you like $50. So it's all right though. That's the cost of the program. It handles everything. It does have a yearly support cost. Most of these programs have a yearly support cost or an update charge or anything like that. I guess my advice to people is you can pay the yearly support cost for a couple of years. You'll learn most of it. If you do have a problem, pay the yearly support costs in future years and just pay it for that once and pay it as you go. Don't have to get an update every year. I mean, matter of fact, if you're used to what you have, you don't have to get an update unless there's something really cool out there that you want to upgrade to of keeping track of records. So that's the neat part about these record keeping systems. Easy Farm. George is usually at some of these farm shows. He's going to be coming to more farm shows. I know he's at almost every farm show in North Dakota, but I think he goes down to the Dakota Dome, and he was talking about going to Sioux Falls this year, but he never did. But anyways, it's a pretty good program as far as we go. As far as our opinions go, I think I speak for Will and Roger. Well, maybe not for Roger. I speak for Will. That Roger's kind of old school, which is fine. We give him crap about it. But we can pretty much handle any of these programs just as long as all the records are done correctly. That's all we care about. That's literally all I care about. Correctly, balanced out, reconciled to the $10. I'm not going to say to the penny, but to the $10. I can live with $10. So, okay, that's those programs. Now, probably the biggest thing is I'm going to quickly, since we have a little time, I'm going to quickly go through our level 2 program. We put everything together, okay? Is there no balance sheets in here? Our whole goal is to take we got to find the one that has something in it, guys. Oh yeah, got plenty. basically our financial analysis program is called FinPack. Okay? What FinPack does is take all the information that you do, your at beginning of the year, end of the year balance sheets. That's with inventories. When you know how much inventory of feed you have, we want to keep track of that. Okay? What I'm going to say is that you can always know how much money you made by adding your expenses and comparing them to your income. You know, subtracting your expenses from your income. You're going to know how much money you make, right? But that isn't necessarily what you made, because grain on hand, feed on hand, cattle on hand, and the changes within that year are considered cash. It's a current asset. It's like cash. So every time that changes, that's considered income or expenses. Okay? So you could make, I got south of the interstate this year, I have farms that are making $300,000 in cash, but their actual farm income is about $50,000 because of inventory changes this year. So it's a big thing. It helps keep track of all of those ratios that we talk about. Janelle up at the school the other day was telling me that one of her smartest students in the ag class didn't know when they would ever use those ratios that you guys were working on last time again in their lives. They just absolutely don't realize that to make good sound business decisions, you need to know those ratios of your own operation. A good example, had a lady come in the other day. We're doing enterprise stuff for feedlots. Her feed consultant always figures 29 cents for yardage a year. And so he had it broke down to how much they made on these group of cattle, and obviously it looked like they lost, I think, $40 or $60 a head. Okay? And that's probably about right this year with feed costs, because we use opportunity costs. We don't use cost of production. So we use opportunity cost because that's the only way you should be doing it. Take yardage out of that, 28 cents a yardage, it was $104, and she thought she made 40 bucks a head. She didn't realize that that yardage has to cover fuel, electricity, all that kind of stuff. All the little, not direct expenses, but indirect expenses, overhead expenses for those cattle. We figured it out. I went back through every single one of her groups for 2 years then, and her average yardage was 27.5 cents. So, and it was pretty close. But she thought that 30 cents was pure profit. That was her income. And that's a lady that's been on the program for 22 years. So, you can always learn something from that. Don't get hooked on this yardage thing. It's always an expense there. That's what I'm trying to explain. So, just to show you, this is a balance sheet, sample balance sheet, and I'm going to quickly run through it. Of course, I don't have much, but assets, intermediate assets, long-term assets, then all the loans to go along with it. Okay, has all the inventories, silage. You always wonder why your banker wants to know all your inventories. Well, in behind the scenes, he's doing this to tell you if you're going to be all right. I guess I personally don't want my banker to tell me if I'm making money or not. I'd rather know beforehand when I walked in there if I'm making money or not. I don't want my banker to tell me, because not that all bankers are dishonest, but there's some people that would probably tell you that, oh, you're not making money, or you need to take more loans out and you can't do it. And you yourself need to know this. So don't always trust a banker. Don't always trust anything. Just do your own research on it. Make sure they're right. So, financial analysis. Yes, Will?
On those balance sheets, what's those two columns, cost and market mean? Would you explain that?
Okay. I will explain that. You'll see right here, we have a market value balance sheet. We have a cost value balance sheet. All right? Market value balance sheets, plain and simple, are the market value. Okay? Or, I think very first session, Roger said something about land and that some banks are only taking 50% of the value of the land. To be honest, that's good. It gives you a little cushion there. So if your ratios look good at 50%, just imagine what they'd look like at 100%. So That's your whole goal. There's a little cushion. Now, I personally, on the market values, I take about 60% or 65, 60, 70, we'll say, percent of the value of the land for sure. The cattle, I always try and keep about the same. I'll run them down to about, depending on the banker, I'll run them down to 750. They could get to 500, but 750 is a good average number. I always keep cattle at 750. Cost. This always goes back to land, pretty much. The cost value balance sheet is the exact cost that you paid for all of your stuff. Okay? And then you take depreciation off that. It gives you a good, accurate retained earnings number, and the market could fluctuate. That's more of a paper value change. So you always, if you really want to go by things, go by a cost balance sheet. Bankers always want to go by market balance sheet, because if you're going home from their bank and you get in a wreck, they want to know how much you're worth to them when you die, basically. So that's their whole goal, is they want to know. Matter of fact, your kids don't care about a cost balance sheet either. They want to know how much you're worth when you die. So anyways, that's the difference between cost and market balance sheet. Okay? I'm not going to show you how we do this. I'm just going to show you what the ending result is. Okay? Financial analysis. We go through, do all capital purchases. We make sure your balance sheets, your beginning and ending balances of your loans match up, and your principal paid and all that stuff. There's no liability checks or no liability issues. That everything zeroes out. If you have $100,000 coming in to your assets, you better have $100,000 going out of your assets or adding to your bank account. Okay, we make sure it all balances. That's when we know it is accurate. When it's all said and done, we print out an analysis form, and you're going to see a whole bunch of warnings on this because it ain't done right, but I'm going to show you it anyways. The analysis form looks like this. Doesn't have crop sales in there. Crop inventory change. They went up 8,600 bushels in inventory. If they sold some crops, they'd have some crop inventory or crop sales dollars in there. This farm, 2006, made $65,000 in net farm income. Notice that was with inventory changes. That's the big thing. Inventory changes. Change in earned net worth. That means the change in the cost balance sheet net worth was $16,000. It was 7%. Change in market value net worth was only $12,000. So something in that time period went down in value. Okay? We go up here. The big five ratios. Beginning current ratio, 2.63. Beginning ending ratio is 1.89. Does anybody know if that's good or bad? Well, 2.63 is really good. Actually, neither one of them are bad, but everybody will always tell you that try to keep around 2.5 for a farm or a ranch. So that just covers your costs, cash values. Debt to asset ratio, good or bad? Beginning was 51%, the ending is 49%. Is that good or bad? Obviously, it went down. You own more than the bank does now today, but it still ain't great. You're going to be in the cautionary. You're definitely not going to go out and buy a quarter of ground with a debt to asset ratio looking like that, because in my experience, when you buy a quarter of ground, roughly, it's going to make your debt to asset ratio go up about 25%. So if you're at 70% debt to asset and you want to go buy a quarter of ground, you're not going to do it. Banker's not going to let you, and you're not going to be around long enough to figure it out anyways. So your whole goal is to keep your debt to asset ratio down far enough so when some of those, a good example I like to say, crop ground is hard to come by. Pasture ground is even harder to come by. So let's say you have cattle and you've rented a 1,000-acre pasture for 30 years, and all of a sudden the guy dies and the kids want to sell the pasture, and you've counted on that pasture your whole life, and now you have a debt to asset ratio of 50%. Can you buy that pasture? Probably not. So your whole goal, management decisions, is what I'm trying to keep pushing. Management decisions, keep that debt to asset ratio down as far as possible. You know, you're not going to be able to buy land if you're at 55%. You might swing it at 50, might, with a agreeable banker and a nice wife. You're not going to. It ain't going to be comfortable for many years. We'll say that. Debt to equity ratio, about the same thing. Net return on equity. Roger kind of went over these. I'm going to give you my own take on these. Cost market, return on equity. Obviously, sell everything off. You have cash in your hand. Go put that in the bank or the stock market, and you're going to gain so much in equity, or you're going to have an interest rate. That's what that is. Keeps the wife happy. If you got a city wife, sorry wives out there, I'm sorry for picking on you so much. But if you got a spouse that's from the city, does not understand farming, and they think that they don't have any money to go shopping, or they don't have any money to go hunting, or they don't have anything. I will tell you this, when you're farming, it's a cash poor operation, right? So our only goal is to say you made 14.4% on your equity this year. That's your interest rate you gained. It's a cash poor operation. It is an equity rich operation. If you're at a job in town, which anybody know what job stands for? Just over broke. So job in town, it's a cash rich operation and an equity poor operation. Just remember that. That's the difference between those two. Matter of fact, it's the difference between business owners and W-2ers, we'll say. Okay? The other thing that I look at is, where's it at? Operating profit margin. This one's at 20%. I think our book last year was 13.5%. I explain it a little bit differently than Roger explains it. If you guys remember what Roger explained it as, he explains it as if you want to bring a hired hand on, or if you're a father and you want to bring a son on, you pay him $30,000. Divide $30,000 by 20%, you're at, what are you at? Well, $130,000 roughly. Okay? What that means is it takes $130,000 of your gross income to produce $30,000 of income to pay a hired hand. Problem with that is, and you guys, some of you younger guys might fit into this category. I've got a couple of sons like this. They think $30,000 at $6, that's only 5,000 bushels of grain of corn that it costs my dad to pay me. That's not necessarily true. Yes, that's $5,000 of direct costs, but if his operating profit margin is 20%, it's $5,000, it's $120,000 divided by $6. How many bushels of grain is that? 120 divided by 6, that 20,000 bushels of grain it takes to produce enough income to pay you. So don't think that it's just straight bushels. Okay? Another good example. I'm an agronomist, so this is kind of near and dear to my heart because I always try to stump my farmers on this. Difference between Roundup Ready corn and triple stack. What, 30 bucks a bag?
At least.
30 bucks a bag, right? Let's say every agronomist will always tell you 30 bucks a bag, that's only 5 bushels of corn that it takes to pay for that triple stack corn, the difference between Roundup Ready and triple stack. No, it does not. Now every operation is different. You have an operating profit margin of 20%, and you need to produce $30 more an acre to pay for that 20%. That's $120 more you need to produce per acre. Divided by $6, I'm using $6 cheaply. What is that? 20 bucks. 20 bushels an acre more it needs to make it pay over Roundup Ready corn. That's the way you can use these ratios to keep track of things. Anybody ready for another example? On the equipment side, you're buying a tractor, $60,000 tractor divided by 5 years, $12,000 a year. Your operating profit margin is 20%. What's 12,000 divided by 20? 60,000 bucks. Okay, $60,000. That new tractor, if you did not pay it off or anything, that has to be worth it to you $60,000 a year. It has to produce, be more efficient, be more something to you. That's a hard one to grasp, but it needs to be more something to you in the amount of $60,000 per year to make it worth it. Now, if you're trading one off, there's a little issue there, obviously. But just think about that. That's what it does. Okay? So, this is the analysis we give to everybody. Notice this net cash income was $73,000. He had a pretty good year. The inventories actually went up $7,000. Net farm or had depreciation. Depreciation is, everybody asks me what depreciation really is, and to me, I think it's a banker term thought up so they can loan you more money in the end. But that's my own personal opinion. So $65,000 is what net income is. Financial statements, kind of a little more of the same, just breaks it down for us a little bit better. Total change in retained earnings, $16,000. Market value in assets, like I told you, went down in market value in assets, so that's why we're at $12,000. Any net worth on this Morkowski farm is $303,000. This goes into a little bit of summary. Enterprise analysis. Obviously, we get the acres, we do share rents, we do own cash rents, have all the share agreements in there that we can for each field. Direct expenses, you know, we pretty much know what your direct expenses are for each field. We want to keep track of it. That's our whole goal. Now, as an agronomist, part of the problem is that we can all figure out direct expenses really good. But then what does it come down to say, what's it cost you to combine your corn? Well, I don't know. What's the custom rate? Custom rate's $30 roughly this year. I can guarantee you're either $20 below it or $20 above it. It doesn't matter. You're not going to be at $30. Your individual operation is totally different than what custom rates are, is what I'm trying to prove. If you added all these up, if I went through there and added it up, total overhead expenses $41. You know, at 80 acres, that's only $2 an acre for overhead. We had $230 for direct, so that's not quite $40 an acre. Anyways, what we do is we give you this printout for every field that you have, including pastures, so we know if you made money on your AUMs per pasture. A good example for AUMs are like bushels per acre. Okay, if your pasture produces 1.9 AUMs per acre, believe me, it's a good pasture. If it produces a third of an AUM per acre, I'd get rid of it. You're paying too much, no matter what you're paying. So if you know your AUMs, it's easier to figure out. Livestock, evidently we don't have, what's going on here? Don't have any livestock in there. So that's what we do. When we put everything together in level 2, hey, I'm about right on time. When we put everything together right in level 2, all of your record keeping systems, combine everything, all of your calf records, all your field records, everything. That's what our job is this time of year, is we put it all together into this analysis, and this is yours for your operation. So, you guys have any questions? Yes, Will?
What's that item there? Go back to your crop expenses, please. Your crop enterprises. What's that column that says labor management charge? Could you explain that to our audience?
Yes, I can explain that to our audience. I'm trying to find it. There we go. Labor and management charge. There's two different philosophies on labor and management. It used to be that us in our profession would say, okay, keep track of all the labor hours that you spent in a year and apply it to livestock, apply it to feed, apply your labor charges somewhere. Crop, what is that? Crop, livestock, and trucking? Something like that. Anyways, this is the easy version now. Labor and management charges. That's basically the charge that we charge a farm or ranch for your labor and management. Notice like this net return, because he had a $12, well, I'm not going to get into that, but he had a $12 labor and management charge. Our charge is $20,000 plus 5% of the retained earnings. So sometimes, basically what it means is if you got $100,000 in retained earnings, 5% of $100,000 is what? $5,000. Okay, plus 20,000, 25,000. Basically, your operation is paying you $25,000 for that year's worth of labor. That's what basically that's what you're charging out to those enterprises. Yeah, per operator. Sorry about that. It's even a little confusing to us sometimes, but that's what it is. We always need to charge out labor. Any questions? I might have bored you to death, but it's my job, right? All right. I think that concludes our lovely session for today. Everybody online, when you're looking at this, I know you didn't get to see any of the screens or anything like that. If you have any questions, give us a call. I'll be more than happy to go over it with you or try to put together a little presentation or something, but it's more or less just going over what was on my computer. So it really wasn't a screenshot altogether that you didn't see. So thank you. Remember, 2 weeks.